So my name is Darien, and I have been living in San Francisco for the last 6 years, working with different nonprofits and churches, and now I am about to head to North Carolina again for a small season before moving to Nepal indefinitely later this year. When I first moved to San Francisco, I definitely thought I was only going to live here for maybe a year or two. I had no desire to live in the city, but God had other plans, and through the process over the last 6 years, God has done a lot of different things to show me that He wants me to go to Nepal. So when I was making the decision to come to San Francisco, a pastor at my church approached me and told me about a lot of work that was being done here and different ways to get involved. And he said, I really think that you should consider and pray about joining a nonprofit and working here. And I was like, I don't know. If you know me, I love my hometown, and I had no desire to live in another part of the country, especially not in a city where there's a lot of earthquakes and different things. But he told me to pray about it, and so I reluctantly prayed about coming to San Francisco. And the more I prayed, the more I knew that if I didn't come, I would be deliberately disobeying God. Just so much conviction came over me in that whole process in a way I have not experienced before and don't want to experience again. And I remember thinking, man, I know in Scripture when people disobeyed God and did not follow through with a calling that He clearly gave to them, that did not end up well. Q and Jonah, for example. And I was like, I don't want to be in that boat. So I made the decision to move out here, and quickly fell in love with the people in San Francisco. In the first nonprofit that I worked with here, we went into several buildings in the community and established relationships and friendships with the people who lived in them. And this one guy named Sandeep, Sandeep, if you're watching this, thank you for all of your influence. But my friends Chelsea, Kyle, and I went to his building one day, and we're getting to know the neighbors, and we just had some stuff that the ministry had given us to give away. And we met him in the hallway of his building, and he invited us to his room for homemade masala tea in his little apartment in the city. And so every week we would go and we would hang out with the different neighbors, and then we would end with Sandeep's house. And that relationship started to grow and grow. And Sandeep is from Nepal and had been out in San Francisco for a short while. And at the time that we met him, his wife and son were still in Nepal, and he was working on trying to get them over to the States. And we prayed a lot for them, and it was just so cool to see how God answered those prayers. And his wife and son are now here in the city with him, and they now have another little boy, and they're doing so well. They moved to outside of the city, but I still get to see them occasionally and love their family. But God really used Sandeep to call me to Nepal. And as we developed this friendship with Sandeep, we learned more about his country and about his people, and he had invited us to go to meet his family in Nepal, which was so kind, but we were working at a place where we didn't get a lot of time off and didn't make a lot of money. And in fact, I think that season was when we weren't making any money. So the idea of going overseas for any amount of time was just kind of a dream. Definitely would love to have gone, but didn't have the means or the time or ability to do so. And so Sandeep really wanted us to go and to meet his family, and my heart was breaking that I didn't see how that could be possible. And over time, Sandeep shared with us more about the different needs in his community and in Nepal in general, and just such a beautiful people that live there. And we just began to get more excited about the idea of going overseas and going to Nepal specifically. And I remember being in a season where I was like, okay, God, I really need to know because I love meeting new people. I love different cultures and different backgrounds and traveling. And so to convince me to go to visit somewhere new isn't that hard. But it just felt like something deeper was there. And so I remember praying like, okay, Lord, if you are the one who wants me to go to Nepal, can you make it very clear? Because I don't want this just to be something that my heart gets wrapped up in because I love Sandeep's family, or because I love the mountains and nature, and I want to know for sure that this is from you. And so the more that I prayed, the more signs God gave me. And I know that sounds strange, but I have some examples I can show. One of the first ones was we were cleaning out a closet at work, and came across this box, and inside the box is this passport cover. And it's a beautiful passport cover, but inside of the passport cover is this fake passport. And in the fake passport is a fake little thing, but it says on the bottom here, it says, "We invite you on a journey to Nepal." And I remember getting this and being like, wow. And then it's got some facts about Nepal as well, which is cool. But just in a season where I'm specifically praying, okay, Lord, do you want me to consider going to Nepal? To find something like this is just, I don't know, it's just very clearly a sign in my opinion. So that was the first one. And then a lot of cleaning in these stories. We were cleaning out another office, and my friend Kyle, who was going to the building with Chelsea and I, so he knows Sandeep, he was putting random pieces of paper on people's desks one day, and he put this piece of paper on mine. And I was like, Kyle, did you see what you put on my desk? And he goes, no, why? And he put this piece of paper, and it's this old event invitation. I don't know why it was in our building, but it was. And the very first sentence reads, "Every day of the year, girls are trafficked in Nepal." And there's like more information about this organization that helps with them. And it was just a cool thing to see. I was like, wow, okay, Lord, I hear you. I'm praying about this. And if anyone knows me, you know that I've got a soft spot in my heart for women and children who have been through abuse or trafficked. And it might be confusing to think like, I don't know what Darien's doing now, or if she's really involved with that anymore. And the reality is there's just so many different roots to all of that. And for me, I believe that the common root for many problems in the world is a lack of faith, a lack of Jesus in their lives. And I've just seen how the church has brought so much healing in my life, and really want to step into that a little bit more, and use what God has used to bring me healing, to bring healing to others. So anyway, I can talk more about that at another time. The third sign that I received about Nepal was my friend Chelsea. So it's so cool how God uses like people in your lives. Chelsea, Kyle, and I were the ones who first met Sandeep, and then God used Chelsea and Kyle in different ways to help confirm Nepal for me. So that was precious. But Chelsea and I were assigned one day to go up to this small church in Yosemite to speak. And I remember thinking, I don't understand why we're going to this church, but we will, because it's our job, so we'll go. And we went to this church. Beautiful people, so glad that we were able to go. And I honestly don't remember what I was supposed to say or what I shared, but I remember just loving the people that I met there. And it turned out that the week before we came to speak, they had just had a group come back from a trip in Nepal, and they were sharing afterwards with me about like their different stories. And that day, so it was a denomination called Calvary Chapel, and they send out this magazine every quarter, and this one still says issue 65, fall of 2015, Calvary Chapel magazine. So they had just gotten back from Nepal, and this magazine was released, and it's like 50 something pages of the different things that happen in Nepal and like the ways that they helped or need help, and which is all beautiful. But yeah, it's just, I was like, okay, I'm hearing you, Lord. And it was extra awesome that the pastor's brother of that church, he and his family have a really big heart for Nepal, and he goes for a few weeks every year. And I definitely spoke with him after the service was over, and he was like, I have all of these different connections, and if you ever make the trip to Nepal, let me know. I can put you in contact with so many different people, and would love to connect you that way. And so I took note of that and was very excited about that opportunity. And then when I got back to San Francisco, the whole drive back from Yosemite to San Francisco, Chelsea and I were just talking about how great God is and how clear it is that God wants me to be considering Nepal. And while that was great news and confirmation about Nepal, I still was left with wondering what capacity, when to go, for how long to go, all of that. So in school they teach you that like a story has who, what, when, where, why, and how. And I got who, me, where, Nepal, but the rest of it I was still trying to figure out. And so fast forward a little bit, still maintaining these friendships, but God transitioned me out of being in one nonprofit and moved me into another one. And in the second one, I became a part of a community of Christians called We Are Church in San Francisco. And there God really brought so much healing to me that I didn't know I needed. It's, I don't think, too much of a surprise for people anymore, but there was in my childhood some abuse that had happened, not from any family members, but still some that had happened. And I didn't realize how long that could hold on to me. I thought I had overcome a lot of those issues, and yet found myself still struggling to get by with just doing daily tasks at points. And so God brought me into a place of getting healing. I started seeking counsel and therapy, and God really used that in my life in such a beautiful way. And He used the church network I remember when I finally sought help, that there were 5 different families in the church that offered for me to come and live with them, so I wouldn't have to pay rent and could really focus on just getting healing. And they were just so loving and kind. And then in the fall of 2018 is when all of that finally took place. And then in January of 2019, I really feel like I don't have words to describe it to anyone who's never been there, and I'm sorry for that, but I just felt God give me a new heart, and I don't know how else to explain it, but just ever since then have been experiencing so much joy and hope and expectation for the future. And when that new heart came, it was almost like a release or a freedom to start making plans for Nepal. And so I reached out to the pastor from Yosemite's brother and was like, hey, I am finally going to be making this trip. Would you mind putting me in contact with some people? And he did. He put me in contact with this beautiful family that were at the time in Kathmandu. And I was able to go in October to visit them and to see all of the things that they're involved with and to meet some people from their church. And it was just such a beautiful experience to be able to be a part of. And so much so that it was more just like, I felt like just going to see if these people are legitimate and a good organization or group of people to get involved with, to which at the end of the time I was there, I felt like the answer was yes. And so, yeah, I just have been praying a lot about this decision and feel that the time to go is going to be around August of 2020. And currently that plan looks like going to, I'll be getting certified to teach English, and the hope is that I will be teaching English at a school nearby a town that I'm going to be living in. And I will be living with the pastor's family in a home that they use to care for different children. Again, people who know me know that I love kids a lot, and so very excited to be living in a house filled with different children, getting to know their stories a bit more. And to be honest, this season is just, for the first year at least of being in Nepal, I want to learn the culture, learn the language, just kind of get really immersed in the community that's there. I don't know that I have answers of what the needs are. I mean, Nepal is a third world country, but just because they may not have everything that we do in America physically doesn't mean that they need everything that we have. They have a lot to offer as well, and I don't want to pretend to know what the answers are or how to help. I just know that God is taking me there, and I know that we all have different gifts and different things we bring to the table, and I am excited to use the gifts that God has given me in this new place and to learn from other people and to work with different people's giftings on how to love this community well, how to help. And so, yes, I will be teaching English. I will be involved with a church community, and I will be looking for other ways to help. And it's been so beautiful already, the different conversations that have happened and the ways that God has lined up different things with people who have similar heart and vision, and including this family that God has gifted for me to stay with. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I will definitely keep everyone posted and updated as new information comes. But this is what's next for me, and it may make perfect sense to some of you, and it may make no sense at all to others. Either way, I appreciate your love and support, and am very thankful to have your friendship. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will do my best to answer. But yeah, just want to say thank you for all that you have contributed to my life thus far.